yeah.
Do
you guys know who this is,
exactly,
right? Like, yeah,
like,
do you know who this is?
You don't need to know.
Guess I win 5 million naira.
Yeah, from him.
From him, exactly, like from him directly.
One chance.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Tell us who you are. Unveil the mystery.
You guys are making this sound bigger than it is. Yes, my name is Abraham Iola. Yeah, I'm one of the guys behind CareerBuddy.
One of the many.
One of the guys behind
guys.
CareerBuddy.
Thousands.
Yes.
This is our founder.
This is our founder, by the
This
way.
is my boss.
Please, founders are not very popular these days. I'm just one of the guys.
One of the good guys.
He's one of the good guys, for real. I was not just saying this because it's here, right?
Well, even if they were, they won't tell you.
There's a gun right here
Behind
my back.
It was like, oh, what's in your non-disclosure agreement?
Alright, so there's so many like myths around CVs, interviews, cover letters, and generally I feel like we try and make this thing a rule. Do you think that there are rules when it comes to CV writing or like interview tips? So the reason why I ask is generally you hear stuff like, oh, your CV should be one page. So if you have 6 years of experience and above or whatever.
Your
is that
picture shouldn't be on your CV.
Yeah.
Your age. Don't tell us your age. Don't tell us if you're Christian.
Where you live, because apparently if you say you write Yano Paja on your CV, you might not get the job.
For real. No. Like, where does it end? Because
So I think that first is to start with thinking about understanding how the hiring process works and why you need a CV and what people use a CV for. I don't know. I think many years ago, some people decided that if we want to hire, we need to see things about you written on a sheet of paper and then decide if we want to invite you or not, right? And all of the rules that have come about don't do this, do that on CVs have been people trying to say, oh, there is this bias that exists around hiring, especially related to your CV, and so that to avoid getting caught up in that space, don't do this, don't do that. So for example, not putting your address or don't put your picture. Those are to like minimize against certain biases. Right. In some cases, those biases do not exist. For example, in Europe, it's good to have your picture on your CV, but because it gives a person a sense that they understand, they know you, that they see you, there's a face there, right? So most European CV formats would have like those kind of small picture in it.
So if you got a CV with a picture, would you cringe or would you be
No, nothing at all. So one thing I always say ultimately is a CV is a marketing document. Is you are saying that I don't know you, I don't know anything about you, and everything I need to rely on to say if I want to talk to you or hire you for this role depends on that paper. So I think that a lot of times if something gets done enough, the real purpose is lost and people just rely on like, oh, I just need to like give a chronological account of everything I've done in my life, and I need to put that on a sheet of paper and I need to send that to someone. So if we walk back and say what is the purpose of the CV, is to say that, hey, I want to I'm applying for a position and I want to showcase the biggest strengths that make me an ideal candidate, or I want to say here is what you should know about me so that you can invite me. So in cases, and you should notice now that people are also using like portfolio or like one-page websites to describe themselves and say this is me. All of those count as CVs as well, right? You can put your picture, you can put a video in there. So I mean, the way the world was in 1950s when we started working in offices and we started where the CVs came from, we're moving away from there, right? We're now more media focused, right? So everything that you can use to showcase, this is why I am, this is why you should hire me. Now, people have done like a lot of ridiculous things when they're looking for jobs. Like you've seen these things around someone bought a billboard and puts his, like, oh, here's my phone number. This is why I'm amazing. Call, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's those ones. I think it was popular in the UK at the time, where graduates would have like placards at the train station.
Wow.
And then like weeks later, we'll find out that they actually got a job.
That happens.
Yeah,
Look,
Maybe we should try that in Nigeria. For
So-
real.
I used to work.
Like, guys, maybe we should just start carrying placard. Hey, I'm looking for a job. This is who I am. This
But
is what
yeah,
I do.
it might just be a toxic job though. So hey.
So here's the thing, right? If you're really desperate for a job, or you're looking for a job, or you know a specific place where you want to work, you should do anything possible to get either yourself or your CV in front of the right people. So I've seen a lot of different ways people use to get your attention for CV. So billboards, those ones are like outrageous. Those ones are there.
Very.
If you're really desperate and you have money,
You
because
can
I
do
think that for you to buy a billboard
You
space,
don't need a job.
you actually are not that broke.
Exactly.
So
if you can pay for a billboard, you don't
yes,
need a job.
but I have people who have like they put their printed their CV, put it in an envelope, mailed it through DHL, and addressed to me in the office. And I received it. I opened it. And I'm like, huh, okay, the person is decent, so they will get a call. Of course, if you have to do that, but your CV is still like, you know,
Trash.
like this, we're like, yeah, please throw it to the trash. You know, so all of the rules that, so people also have these things now about, oh, use certain keywords, use this, use this.
Yeah.
That's because also over time people then built technology that said, oh, if 100 people are applying for a job, I don't want to see all 100 people. I want this technology to kind of like look at anyone who has certain keywords and filter out anyone who doesn't have that. If you have this keywords, so people now start saying, oh, your CV should be formatted in this way. You shouldn't put your CV only in Word version or PDF.
Right.
All of those things. Those are because everybody's saying, oh, there are all these machines, applicant tracking systems, and if your CV doesn't follow certain, like your CV doesn't speak the language they understand, you will be you'll be removed or you'll be at a disadvantage, right? So all of those rules, again, like I said, they are adapting to everything that everybody's saying.
Doing the trend.
Yes. Oh, just ATS. Okay, don't do that to follow ATS. Like right now, people are using just a LinkedIn profile is sufficient as a
Right.
good CV.
Yeah.
Some people are using like even just your Twitter bio, like all of the things that you put on your bio, depending on what kind of work you're also looking for, right? So I think for 2022, the kind of world that we live in, depending on what kind of work you want to do, you should, one of the most important things, you should find out where is your ideal audience, the person that you want them to really talk to you to give you a job. Where are they? And you'd say watering holes, like find where they are, and then really tailor your CV, your whatever, either it's a CV or a portfolio or your LinkedIn profile to really speak to them. So now everybody says, write a LinkedIn profile, put LinkedIn profile picture that is like this, you know, this one, so that
I'm just so tired. I feel like it's just a lot.
this
Like,
is
do
it's a
way,
racket. This is
do
an ongoing
a
racket.
lot of performance, a lot of things you have to do
Yeah.
to get a job.
Yeah, like oh, you should start a blog, so
Yeah.
that
Start a blog,
Get
and post on
following.
LinkedIn. I
Personal
mean,
branding.
so start to like write
personal
some.
branding.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I mean, 100 things now that you should do this, you should do that, you should do. I think a lot of them are relevant, but ultimately you need to pick your battles. Yeah, like, this is where I want to work. This is the person I'm trying to reach. This is what they pay attention to, and I'm going to do this to really be right in their front, right?
Places.
Have you ever hired? Obviously, this is looking back now. So you've seen a CV that is trash, but for some reason you're like, I want to speak to this person. Has that ever happened?
I think so. Firstly, I don't know whether I should even saying that here. I'm a very judgmental person.
Right.
I judge people like
Off the bat, like
from
the cover.
like
I'm judging you.
I'm just judging you. Like, what's going on? Like, I remember when I used to work. I used to run a recruiting team when I was in Jamaica. Someone sends me a CV in an Excel document.
What?
What are you thinking? Like, why?
Wouldn't that pique your interest? Like, I want to see who would do
Why did you?
this.
Why did you? But don't you get pissed off? Like, because you just said, oh, you're a judgmental person. But don't you get very pissed off when maybe the CV really attracted you and then you interview the person and they are just horrible?
So that's why I said I'm a very judgmental person. I'm also, I think, maybe in the that also makes me, in a way, a good judge of character. Mm-hmm. I'm able to. There are people that they're good, they have substance, but presentation is always bad. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you can see that. You can see that just from even some of the things that they write about themselves. And there are people that are, for lack of a better word, total trash, but presentation is great.
Great, exactly.
So you have those scenarios where, nice CV, everything, and presentation, you meet the person, you're like, oh, God, let down. Or they're like, the worst ones are like, people that went to school in the UK.
The Indian guys and the Indian girls.
Like, hey,
wherever you want to put it.
Coventry. They went to Coventry. Coventry. And you see, like, oh my God, this person is gonna be good. And then, let's chat. And you have the conversation. You're like, what just happened? Like you know that this person really they don't have anything to offer, right?
Just the fact that they went to school in the UK.
To be honest, one of the things I'm going to say it, and everybody should just note that in recruiting, in hiring, anywhere in the world, anyone can tell you there's a lot of bias. Right. There's a lot of bias, and a lot of people. So some bias works in your favor, some work against you.
Yeah.
So some of those biases, again we said, people who have certain kind of accents get given certain kind of privileges, and people who don't speak certain kind of languages, they miss out on certain things. Mm-hmm. But if we actually look at depth and we really open up everything, in most cases, some people would. They would get ahead, right?
True.
So hiring has a lot. Everybody won't talk about it, but hiring has a lot of bias in there. We look at people who are in certain kind of schools, people who did one job before in one certain kind of company.
Google,
exactly.
Microsoft.
So that's the reality, right? Yeah. But is it okay? Is it justifiable?
So yes and no, right? So I'd also say one reason why people who go to who work, either you worked in Google before or you went to Harvard, why you do well, you go further in a recruiting process is that almost everything in life is a filtering process. Mm-hmm. So the reason you would I want to talk to the guy from Harvard, it's like, oh, you know that Harvard has a very, very difficult filtering process. Mm-hmm. So you say, you trust that they've done the job of filtering you from there. Mm-hmm. So if they say you're good enough for me, right? Mm-hmm. And in most cases, it would be like that. So I have had this conversation with someone who said that, they hire people who finish with first class, and the reason is that they feel like for you to get first class, it required you put in a lot of work.
That does not work again in this country.
There's discipline, there is focus, there's hard work. You buckle down, and so I can trust certain things. So most things those things are signals, they tell you a thing about a person. Those things are not always right. There are trashy people in Harvard. Yeah.
Definitely.
There are people who are geniuses who never went to uni or any college whatsoever. So the reason this persists is that most people, recruiters in general and hiring managers, are very lazy. We are very lazy. I'm gonna call everybody out on that. We're very lazy. So all this
HR in the mud
yes,
again.
we're very lazy. That's why we say we only want 2-1, only do assessment tests, only do this. What it takes to uncover a good talent requires work, requires some amount of patience, requires amount of there is something this person has. Let's dig in. Let's try to find what's there. But everybody's like, I really can't be bothered. 2-1, come here. Okay.
Yes. No.
So assessment test. Okay, you pass. Okay, I'm gonna talk to you because it's the nature of the business. Unfortunately, there are more people without jobs than jobs. So you're like when you put
a race against something. You know.
So you put out one application, you see 1,000 people apply. Already you're like, I don't have the strength to find out who is the best person among this 1,000 people.
So you rely on
I'm not a recruiter, but I've had to do some form of recruitment in like a short while, and I know that it's a lot of mental work because it's almost like you're trying to get to know someone, and it takes a lot. It's draining. Even that conversation in itself is draining. And I remember like there was one that pissed me off. Like the interview didn't last for more than 5 minutes. I was like, okay, thank you, we're done. I'll see you. I'll get back to you. But I knew I wasn't going to get back to that person because it just like I did not have even the patience to start doing what some recruiters actually calm down and talk through the entire, like just the first 2 conversations. I'm like, oh no, and I ended it there. So I think recruiters actually do it's a lot of mentally, even emotionally tasking job.
It's very draining. It's
quite
very draining. And you need to, I think one of the things I've learned over the years is that to have in some cases have a bit of empathy for the person on the other side. There are people who just don't know any better, and they've just been dealt a very terrible hand, and they don't know any better. Like you see a lot of CVs, you're like, why?
Like what sort of things would
like
be
what's the
in
worst
there?
CV that like still stays with you till today? Like when you think about that CV, you're like, burn.
I don't know. So there are lots of things that make a CV. So in one job that I used to have a wall of shame for CVs that we received that are like, wow, what were you thinking? What were you thinking?
They were trying to gain attention.
Like what? No, they got the bad attention. They got the negative kind of attention. So we saw one CV one time where one lady like put like full head to toe picture of herself.
Vogue magazine.
Like that. And okay, if that was complimenting something else on the side, like I'm like, there is nothing. You just wrote like, sorry, I don't want to even mention the university, but just mention Covenant University. I just like listed, I think she either went like on like a job description for something and just copied it and just pasted it like this. Manage list of this, manage da 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 da, and you're like, this doesn't
effort at all.
It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's just annoying when someone applies for a job and you see that they made no effort. Like they made no effort. So it's important that I feel in your job, because I once spoke to an HR person, and one of the things she said is sometimes our recruitment process is just to test that you actually made an effort.
Yeah.
So just
100%.
to see, are you paying attention to what we asked you to do? So when they say, oh, write this, or identify this, they want to see, did you pay attention? Did you understand what you're doing here? Because I think it pisses you off when you just see that this person did not make an effort.
And the reason is if you want to work with people, you want to know the kind of person like, oh, you are someone that I can rely on. You can, you're going to You're not just gonna come here and just like sit down and just like
nothing.
chill. So that tells us something from the application process.
Mm-hmm.
They again look, everything you do in recruiting or in a hiring process, there are strong arguments for and against it.
Right.
So some arguments, like some hiring process need not be like me jumping through a lot of hoops to get through something, but in most cases, depending on the role, also given the amount of talent in the market, you probably want to see who is the best person, right?
But do you think people need to go through like 10 interview stages? in the job?
No.
Like, it's that bad. You hear some conversation where you do stage 1 for 6 months. You're doing an interview.
So again, here's the thing. That is not bad in itself. Let me tell you. The reason is that if it's communicated upfront,
Yeah.
and you know that this is what I'm going, this is what you're getting into,
You
this is how long it will take.
Yeah.
Sure. If you come, so one of the worst things in the employment process is this thing that recruiters reach out to you and you're excited about this job and you submit your CV and then crickets. You don't hear from them, right?
them.
So as a candidate, that would be like infuriating. Just like why? So if the process is gonna take 6 months, but you know, like, here are all of the steps you're gonna go through, and this takes this, and next you move here, next you move here. Oh, sorry, you dropped out of here. We can't move you forward. That's fine. But a lot of cases, like, oh, so you did one interview. Oh, we will invite you for the next stage. Oh, the person who did it now went on maternity leave. So wait
till, yeah.
And then some processes just drag on, and then they come back 6 months later and say, "Hi,
Yeah.
are you still available for this?"
That, like, do you think I will put my
waiting?
life
Yeah.
on hold for you?